Well, let's talk about that. We have Peyton Calhoun on Facebook, very, very worried about the wide receivers, which I understand the concern. Absolutely. Among the guys coming back, when you look to the 2025 season, Isaiah Canyon had the most receiving yards, and he wound up with 480 for Georgia Tech this past season. You got London Humphreys coming back, and then besides that, I mean, you've got a lot of inexperience. Ben, how much concern should there be from Georgia fans about the state of wide receiver? Do you think it's a little overblown, or where do you think they? How do you think the fans should feel about what they've got in that room at this point? Because the portal is still open.
I understand anybody that has concerns, the Peyton Calhouns of the world. I get where you're coming from. You haven't seen a whole lot of these guys produce, and ultimately that's all that people are going to care about is who have you seen production from. I have seen a lot of Talon Taylor up close. I have seen a lot of CJ Wiley up close. I've seen a lot of Tyler Williams up close. I've seen a lot of Thomas Blackshear up close. Craig Dandridge is someone that I absolutely think is going to be able to play year one. Ryan Mosley is someone that I think he gets his conditioning right. I don't think people are talking about him enough as someone that could have a year one impact as well. Am I sitting here saying that every single one of those guys is going to have massive seasons? No, we know that Georgia likes to spread the rock around. We know that statistically speaking, you're probably not going to have any of those guys just blow you away with a 1,000-yard season, right? Like that's not the world that you should expect to be living in the Georgia world when we're talking receivers. But I do believe in every single one of those guys that I just mentioned. And I do think that Georgia believes in every single one of those guys that I just mentioned. Otherwise, they would have probably done some processing via the portal. They probably would have gone and tried to get a more high impact guy. Not saying that Isaiah Canyon's not, just that he at 6'4", like he fits a very specific prototype that Georgia has been looking for in the portal year after year after year recently. And so, like, yeah, I do think that Georgia is going to have a bunch of weapons at receiver. And that doesn't even begin to mention Elias Williams is going to take the next step. Jaden Riddell hasn't, he's still around. Like he's going to end up taking the next step. Lawson Lucky, we know, is going to be thrust more into probably a receiver type of role with Delp gone and Elias and Ethan Barbour stepping up more as those inline type of guys. Like I didn't even mention Ethan Barbour until just then. Like there are so many weapons to me on the perimeter that Georgia's going to find a way to use these guys the right way. I mean, I haven't even mentioned Sokovia White-Helton, who Georgia hasn't taken a slot yet really in the portal. So I would think that Sokovia White-Helton is going to be someone that gets a lot of run, someone that I believe in very much, has a big 20-yard first down catch in the Sugar Bowl already. So it's not to say that you haven't seen any production from any of those guys. And, that doesn't even, that just talking the high school guys, that hasn't touched on London Humphreys, who we've seen do it multiple years in a row in big time spots. So yeah, I'm not worried about the receiver position. And I think that if Georgia was whatsoever, they would have approached this window much differently than they did at that position.
You hit on a lot of what I would have said, Ben. I mean, I think one, you've got that young talent at wide receiver. I'm a big believer that eventually you got to rely on those guys because if you just decide we're going portal every single year, if I'm recruiting against Georgia and they want to try to bring in some high school talent at receiver, I'm going, why are you going to Georgia? You're never going to play there. They're just going to recruit over you. And I think they have enough talent. It's time to let these young guys loose and let them play roles. And then the other thing I was going to say, get the tight ends more involved. The past 2 years, I do not think they've done a good enough job of getting very talented tight ends involved in consistent factors in the passing game. Now, some of that's on Gunnar Stockton. He's got to be willing to throw across the middle. He's got to be willing to feed those guys, and they've got the talent there. I am interested, like Ben said, maybe we see Lawson Lucky line up wide a few times because they've got enough talent. They need to get as many of those guys on the field as they can. Kipp, how do you feel about where they are at wide receiver? Are you concerned, or do you feel like they're in a pretty good spot at this point?
I don't think there's a way for us to know whether concern is warranted until we see these young guys play. At this point, it's the coaching staff and speculation. So we can only lean on, we know the coaching staff loves the guys they have. We can tell everyone that's listening and all the Georgia fans, the coaching staff loves this receiver group. But you're still going to speculate because the production's not there. The numbers aren't there to help all the Georgia fans sleep at night. And that's just going to be the way it is until the season starts, unless, Georgia actually has its spring game on TV this year, and which we'll see how that goes. But at this point, it is up to the coaching staff to look in that room and make that decision and know that, yeah, they're going to be graded on whether or not they add another guy and this group pans out. Do I see this group as having a ton of potential? Of course. Like, just looking at the fact that, Craig Dandridge is at the bottom of the, my scholarship distribution page, I'm thinking this guy's going to make a huge impact in year one, in my opinion. Sokovie White is the guy that we've just been saying, man, like, how were they not able to get him on the field more? And here he's got a starting slot position waiting for him. He's got the opportunity there. He's a guy that was outstanding, and all the, his teammates talked about how, like, this guy just makes plays in practice. And now he's got the chance to do it in games. So for fans, it's like they want to have it both ways, and we understand it. But if you recruit guys to this school and now they have the opportunity and you're mad they didn't go to the portal to get someone to play on over top of them, like that's a little bit, you're trying to play both sides here. I think these are the guys that Georgia signed. You want these guys to step into those roles because high school recruiting is still how Kirby Smart chooses to build his roster. So trust in that coaching staff that these guys are going to step in and make big plays. And if they don't, then you know that you can hold the coaching staff accountable for looking at this group and being wrong. But in January, looking at the group of 11 wide receivers and looking at the fact that somehow we talked about all the tight ends and Caden Prothro's coming in too. Like, that guy might be lining up a wide receiver in year one as well. There's no shortage of pass catchers for Georgia to work with. And I think that taking that next step, getting those reps in with Gunnar Stockton and him taking that next step is a lot more important than maybe, any of the guys that are currently still available in the transfer portal at wide receiver.